أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the many things that make Islam unique is its position on alcohol, not just in discouraging its consumption, but in completely and unanimously prohibiting it across all schools of thoughts, sects, and centuries. No rituals, no exceptions. That kind of clarity is rare in religious history. And it's not just spiritual. Modern science now confirms what the Qur'an hinted at 14 centuries ago. Alcohol is deeply harmful. From countless health complications and addiction to broken families with neglected or abused children, alcohol's impact on individuals and societies as a whole should not be downplayed. Billions are spent every year trying to fix what it destroys. So here's the question. If alcohol is this destructive, why didn't Allah prohibit it soon after He sent His Prophet, as He did with idolatry, injustice, female infanticide, fornication, and cheating in business? Why was it only outright prohibited about 4 years before Muhammad's mission ended at his death? As we'll see, that is what makes this topic so fascinating. Pre-Islamic Arabs didn't just drink, they glorified wine. It was central to their poetry, masculinity, and status. Poets like Al-A'shar were famous for romanticizing intoxication. Social gatherings and even pre-battle rituals involved alcohol. It was literally ingrained in their identity. The Quran didn't begin by outright banning alcohol. Instead, it took a step-by-step approach across several years. The first stage was a gentle hint. In chapter 16, verse 6-7 of the Quran, Allah presents a sign of His bounties. And from the fruits of date palms and grapes, you derive wine and a good provision. Indeed, in that is a sign for people who reason. Notice the contrast. Alcohol is mentioned, but good provision is separated from it. Early scholars saw this as a subtle disapproval. Wine is listed, but not praised. Instead, the wording plants a seed of reflection, as the verse says, a sign for those who reason. Perhaps alcohol isn't so good after all. This verse was revealed relatively early, in Mecca, before the general laws of the Muslim society were introduced. It does not declare alcohol sinful or spark change, but it sets the tone. Then came this verse in Surah Baqarah years later, revealed about 2 years after the migration to Medina. Verse 219 reads, They ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in them is great sin and some benefit for people, but their sin is greater than their benefit. This was a more direct statement. The verse did not forbid alcohol, but it gave moral weight by declaring that not only did it contain sin, but that its sin was greater than the perceived benefits. This made the Muslims of the time uneasy, and even caused some of them to limit their drinking. But it didn't stop there. The next verse on the subject came a year or two later, addressing the impact of alcohol on worship. A practical concern had begun to develop. What happens when people pray intoxicated? This time, the language was sharper, and it was revealed with the direct address to the Muslims, which intensified the message. O you who have believed, do not approach prayer while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying. Due to the fact that Muslims prayed 5 times each day, this command meant that they now had to stay sober most of the day. The verse didn't just restrict the timing of drinking. It made intoxication feel incompatible with devotion. Gradually, the Muslims were getting used to going through the day with no wine at all. The community was being prepared, and then around 2 or 3 years later, the final verse was revealed. The Quran delivered its clearest verdict: total prohibition.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصار والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة فهل أنتم منتهون.
The command was clear, and what followed was nothing short of remarkable. The companions didn't resist. They didn't demand time or alternatives. They poured their wine into the streets. As Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu narrates to us, when the command of Allah came, the people poured away the wine into the streets of Medina. There was mass action, without protest or delay. Also noteworthy is the fact that only in the final verse does Allah call alcohol Satan's handiwork and lays out Satan's ultimate intentions, because now it's not just about quitting a drink, it's about choosing between obedience and deception, between remembrance and negligence, between divine light and Satan's trap. A suitable parallel we can use to appreciate the Qur'an's perfection in its approach would be the Prohibition era, which occurred in the 1920s, when the United States of America tried to ban alcohol, only for it to fail spectacularly. The government's attempt to ban alcohol gave rise to black markets, corruption, and mass disobedience. Within 13 years, this decision was reversed, and to date it remains the only constitutional amendment to ever be overturned by another. The policy failed because it was man-made. There was no moral preparation and no psychological shift, only legislation and the demand to fall in line. The Qur'an, on the other hand, transformed the hearts before it banned the action. As a result, the ban was not only successful, it was permanent. The Qur'an didn't just prohibit wine, it changed how the people saw it. Little by little, it transformed this culture that once praised wine into one that poured it away willingly. And while modern governments struggle to control alcoholism, Islam solved it 1400 years ago, and Allah knows best.